All right, the White House seems to be playing down the impact of the arrests of 10 suspected Russian spies living here in the U.S. Listen.
I mean, obviously, the president was fully and appropriately informed. This was a law enforcement action, and law enforcement acted appropriately, and he did not have a personal reaction that I know of.
All right, joining us now to discuss that over-the-top analysis, our political panel consists of Victor Davis Hanson. He's an outstanding columnist, military historian, and author of The Father of Us All, War and History, Ancient and Modern. He joins us. George Allen's playing the middle chair. He is the former governor of Virginia, senator from Virginia, and author of this new book. It's a great one, What Washington Can Learn from the World of Sports. Welcome. And Carmen Segarra is here. She's an attorney and candidate for vice president of the Hispanic National Bar Association. First, to you, former senator and Governor George Allen, are you surprised that Vladimir Putin is mad at us for arresting 11 spies in our country?
Well, Vladimir Putin, you need to know his history with the KGB and all of that in the past. And I thank goodness the FBI has been tracking these individuals for they're actually arrested for espionage or for not registering as illegals. And, you think of what does Russia need to be worrying about with us? Well, they don't agree with us on a missile defense system, and our administration has backed down and left the checks and the polls high and dry on that. The other thing is Russia, where they're getting all their strength these days is from their energy. They're #2 in the world in energy resources. Believe it or not, America's #1.
Right.
And they may think it's wonderful that the United States doesn't want to use our plentiful coal or gas or oil resources and continue to be vulnerable to oligarchs and cartels.
Victor, first of all, they're embedded in our business industry. They're not in Washington necessarily. There's a couple in Washington, but they want to know what we're doing in business.
Well, this is part of the reset diplomacy. I mean, I couldn't believe that Robert Gibbs said it wouldn't affect reset diplomacy. Reset diplomacy was the idea that all the problems with Russia started with George Bush and didn't transcend George Bush. And now we learn that whether it's the checks or the polls we put on the altar of reset diplomacy, or whether it was a failed Russian help with Iran, the world hasn't changed much, that these people abroad are not affected by hope of change. They're rivals, and they're antithetical to a lot of things we want to do.
Carmen, the administration seemed annoyed that we came out. The FBI jumped on this guy because he was leaving the country. They had to do it. They seemed annoyed to bring it up at this time.
Well, they may be annoyed, but the real issue is, honestly, why are we not spying on China? Why are we not filing charges on Chinese spies here in the U.S.? I mean, it came out this morning in the New York Times that they're not even going to be charged with espionage because they had no secrets to send back to Russia. So I think this is wasted effort on the part of the administration.
It's a lot of years to come up with nothing. It's fun. That's hard to believe. It's an oversimplistic look, but for what they're charged for, they could get 20 years. All right, we're back with our incredible panel, including former Virginia Governor and Senator George Allen, who in 2008 was the center of a political YouTube viral video for this comment.
This fellow here over here with the yellow shirt, Macaca, or whatever his name is, he's with my opponent. He's following us around everywhere.
Well, that's just yesterday. Democrats launched a program asking voters to find, and this is the quote, the macaca moment of 2010. They're urging people to keep cameras and video handy at all times in hopes of catching Republicans saying something they may look to regret later. Is this a good idea? First off to you, Senator Allen, what are your thoughts when you see that and the fact that it could trip up other candidates in this YouTube generation?
Well, it reminds me of a mistake that I made. There was no malicious intent with it. I was trying to chide my opponent who was in Hollywood while this young man who's a cameraman was following me all over Virginia, dozens of events, and I never should have brought him into the debate. And so what it means is that one needs to be careful. Try to make sure your campaign is staying on issues and ideas and a record that people care about in campaigns, and not let it get distracted and misdirected and mischaracterized by errant comments.
Carmen, what do you think about that? I mean, shouldn't Democrats have a platform in which people can be inspired and be moved towards rather than try to find the macaca moment?
I think this is a brilliant idea, and in fact, I think the Republicans should do it to the Democrats as well. I think
but who benefits?
Everybody, because we've spent way too much time in this country, way too many years going down the spiral of decay, political decay. And I think, you know, the people who should represent us should be the best and the brightest. There's a lot of unemployment out there and a lot of young politicians who have and are looking for a chance to be able to represent this country. And I think it's a great opportunity to, you know, make sure that we select the best.
Victor, doesn't it seem like the ultimate diversion,
Yeah,
the inconsequential things in a very consequential time?
I don't think we're going to see it, because this is, between that comment and today, we had the Klinger speech by the president, Reverend Wright. We had the typical white person. Then during the presidency, we had the cowards outburst by Eric Holder. We had Justice Sotomayor's wise Latino. We had the president's beer summit and stereotyping police. We've come a long distance, and people, if you can gauge the pulse of the country, they're tired of gotcha stuff. And the Democrats have we've had Harry Reid, and we've had Clean Black. We've had all sorts of stuff under the bridge by then.
It's unbelievable, too. And, Senator, we have a hole in the Gulf of Mexico that's threatening, it's a man-made natural environmental threat like we've never seen before. We've got 2 wars to fight. Should we be finding a macaca moment in our next candidate?
Well, it's part of the gauntlet one has to run, and any candidate needs to understand it. I understand it. I may be the expert on this, so to speak, and maybe YouTube was benefited from it. But I think really in campaigns what people care about is jobs, our economy, this dangerous debt, this out-of-control spending and recklessness in Washington, energy policy. And in my book on what Washington can learn from the world of sports is people like what goes on in sports. They're unified, they're motivated by it. Most of what goes on in Washington seems to be against the people and our competitiveness as a country. And so that's what one would want in a campaign, is to talk about ideas and solutions. But one as a candidate, and I know this, need to always be careful, make sure that you're staying on that message, executing, so that the opposition cannot mischaracterize or get the campaign off on things that don't matter to people.
All right. I guess we'll have to end it there. Carmen, Senator Allen, Victor Davis Hanson, thanks so much.
Thank you.